The wind howled across the frozen plains of Arendar 7, cutting through layers of heavy clothing like a sharp blade. Snow swirled in thick clouds, reducing visibility to mere meters. Despite the cold, Commander Alara Miles moved steadily across the icy landscape, her team following closely behind. The humans were on a research mission, studying the Velari, a mysterious species native to this remote planet, known for their intelligence and protective instincts. The Velari had fascinated scientists for decades, yet no human had ever formed a close bond with them. Alara's breath formed small clouds in the frigid air as she scanned the horizon. "Keep your eyes open," she warned. "We're close to the nest." Her voice was calm but firm. Experience had taught her that the quiet of Arendar 7 often hid dangers both natural and alien. Her team of four followed without question, trusting her leadership ahead. The jagged ice cliffs rose like frozen giants. In the shadows of these cliffs lay the Velari nesting grounds. Alara had seen pictures and satellite scans, but nothing compared to the real thing. She felt a mixture of excitement and caution. The Velari were small, almost cub-like creatures at first glance, but their eyes were deep and intelligent. Something about them seemed almost human. "Movement ahead," whispered Lieutenant Caravas, pointing toward a small clearing. A few Velari cubs were playing in the snow, their soft fur glinting under the dim sun. They were unaware of the humans' presence. Alara held up a hand to signal silence. She wanted to observe, not disturb, but observation was short-lived. A low rumble echoed from the cliffs. Dust and ice fell as a group of alien raiders emerged from a hidden crevasse. They were taller than humans, with armored bodies that reflected the pale sunlight. They carried strange, energy-based weapons, their eyes, sharp and predatory, fixed on the Velari. Alara's stomach tightened. "Raiders," she whispered. "Weapons ready. Stay calm." The aliens wasted no time. They moved with frightening precision, aiming to capture the Velari cubs. Panic erupted among the small creatures. Some tried to run, but the uneven ice made it impossible. The cubs cried out, high-pitched squeals that pierced the air like knives. Alara knew they had only seconds to act. "Go," she shouted. She didn't wait for her team to react. Her body moved before her mind fully caught up. She lunged forward, placing herself between the nearest cub and a raider's weapon. A blast of energy hit her shoulder, throwing her to the ground. Pain shot through her, but she gritted her teeth and shielded the cub with her own body. The small Velari nuzzled against her arm, trembling, yet its cry grew louder. It sounded almost like a word to mark them all. The humans froze. Had it actually spoken? Alara didn't have time to ponder. More energy blasts rained down. Her vision blurred from the cold and the pain, but she stayed low, keeping the cubs safe. Kara and the others opened fire, targeting the raiders, but the aliens were fast. Alara saw one advance toward another cub, ready to strike. With a surge of strength, she rolled toward it, grabbing the Velari and dragging it behind a jagged ice formation. The cub's cry echoed again. A strange mixture of fear and command marked them all. The words sent a shiver down her spine. There was something in the tone, something that suggested more than fear, it was determination. Alara realized this creature was not just a baby animal. It had intelligence, perhaps even a sense of strategy. The battle continued around them. The raiders were relentless, but the Velari adults began emerging from their hiding spots. They moved with astonishing speed, leaping from ice ledges and striking the aliens with sharp claws and energy bursts that seemed to come from nowhere. Alara watched, stunned. The Velari were not helpless, they were warriors in their own right. Pain radiated from her shoulder, but she forced herself to stay upright. She gave hand signals to her team, guiding them to flank the raiders. The combination of human strategy and Velari instinct began to turn the tide. The aliens, who had expected easy prey, were confused and struggling. The cub squeaked again, climbing onto a small ice ridge. Its eyes glowed faintly, almost like fire. It let out a loud, commanding cry, marked them all. Instantly, the nearest Velari adults reacted. They leapt toward the enemies with precise coordination, striking at weak points Alara's team had noted but could not reach. Kara looked at Alara, wide-eyed. It's It's leading them, she whispered. Alara nodded grimly. Yes, and we follow its lead. Despite her injury, she pushed herself up and fired at a raider closing in. The cub squealed in approval, and somehow, Alara felt a surge of courage. The creature's bravery was infectious. Minutes felt like hours. The snowstorm whipped around them, making it hard to see, but the humans and Velari fought as one. The aliens, realizing they were losing control, began retreating. Some fled into the cliffs, while others were knocked down by the coordinated attacks of humans and Velari. Finally, silence fell. The only sounds were the wind and the cub's soft whimpers. Alara collapsed fully, exhausted. She looked down at the small creature she had protected. It nuzzled her, its eyes intelligent and shining with gratitude. For a moment, she almost forgot the pain in her shoulder. We did it, Kara said, helping her sit up. But how? How did it? Alara shook her head. I don't know. But it's more than just a baby animal. That cry. It wasn't just fear. It was purpose. The cub let out one final, soft squeal, almost like a whisper. Mark them all. Alara's mind raced. The words repeated in her head. There was something important here, something she didn't yet understand. She glanced around at her team. They were tired, injured, but alive. The Velari adults circled the cub, protective and watchful. It was clear they had accepted the humans not as threats, but as allies. Alara's thoughts drifted to the bigger picture. If the cub could inspire the Velari to fight with such coordination, what other abilities did this species have? And more importantly, what could humans learn from them? She knew one thing for certain: protecting the innocent, even at great personal risk, could inspire greatness in others, even alien species. As the storm began to settle, Alara made a silent vow. She would not let the cub's cry be forgotten. They would survive, learn, and return stronger. And she would discover the meaning behind those words, mark them all. For now, though, there was only the wind, the snow, and the small, brave creature she had shielded with her own body. Humanity had taken its first step into an alliance with the Velari, and Alara knew that this was just the beginning of a story that would test courage, intelligence, and compassion in ways no human had faced before. The storm had passed, leaving the icy plains of Arendar 7 eerily quiet. Snow glistened like scattered diamonds, reflecting the weak light of the distant sun. Commander Alara Miles sat on the frozen ground, her shoulder throbbing, but her eyes never left the small cub nestled against her chest. Its fur shimmered in the pale light, and its bright eyes seemed almost human in their intelligence. The rest of her team moved cautiously around the clearing, checking for survivors among the alien raiders. Most had fled, wounded or confused, but a few remained, frozen in fear. The humans quickly disarmed them, restraining them without unnecessary violence. Alara's mind, however, was focused entirely on the cub. What is it trying to do? Lieutenant Kara Voss whispered, kneeling beside her. It cried, "Mark them all." What does that even mean? Alara shook her head slowly. I don't know yet, but whatever it is, the cub seems strategic, like it understands what's happening around it. The Velari adults, previously hidden in the ice caves, began to approach cautiously. Their movements were silent but deliberate, and their eyes were fixed on the humans. They circled the cub protectively, yet they did not attack. One of the larger adults stepped forward, sniffing the air around Alara. It tilted its head, as if studying her, then gave a soft, approving chirp. Alara's heart skipped a beat. The humans had expected fear or hostility, but instead, the Velari seemed respectful. It was almost as if they recognized her sacrifice for the cub. Commander, Kara said, I think they understand you. Alara frowned. I think you're right, but not in the way we usually understand it. There's something deeper here. The cub let out a small squeak and scampered a few steps forward, pausing on a ridge of ice. Its bright eyes scanned the area. Then it chirped sharply, mark them all. The words echoed strangely in the cold air, and Alara felt a shiver run down her spine. At that moment, the Velari adults reacted. They moved with sudden, precise coordination. One leapt toward a wounded alien raider hiding behind a boulder. Another swooped from the ice cliffs, knocking down a second raider. Every movement was perfectly timed, almost as if they were following a plan communicated through the Cub's cries. Alara stood slowly, leaning on her blaster for support. "It's leading them," she whispered. "The Cub, it's giving orders, and they're listening." Kara's eyes widened. "This is incredible. It's like they're a single unit when they respond to it." Alara nodded. "And that means they can be allies, if we understand how to communicate with them." The humans and Velari spent the next few hours moving through the icy valleys, cautiously tracking the fleeing raiders. The Cub ran ahead, leaping from ridge to ridge, occasionally stopping to chirp. "Mark them all." Each time it did, the Velari adults responded immediately, targeting the raiders with precision that even the humans could not match. Alara marveled at the synergy. The humans' tactics were methodical, relying on technology and strategy, while the Velari relied on instinct and a mysterious understanding that seemed almost telepathic. Together, they were unstoppable. By late afternoon, the remaining raiders had been driven into a narrow canyon, surrounded by jagged ice cliffs. They were trapped. Alara signaled her team to hold position. The Velari Cub climbed to the highest ridge, its small body silhouetted against the fading sun. Its voice rang out clearly, "Mark them all." The Velari adults leapt into action. They moved with deadly efficiency, pushing the raiders into positions where the humans could easily capture them. The aliens, confused and terrified, tried to fight back, but they were outmatched. The humans had superior weapons, and the Velari had an uncanny coordination that no enemy could anticipate. After the last raider was restrained, silence fell again. The humans breathed heavily, exhausted from the chase, but alive. Alara knelt beside the Cub, gently stroking its fur. "You're amazing," she whispered. "You saved us, and maybe even your own people." The Cub chirped softly and nuzzled her hand. Its eyes were bright and intelligent, filled with a mix of gratitude and something Alara could not quite name. She felt a strange connection to the creature, as if it understood her thoughts and emotions. The Velari adults began to approach the humans more openly. One of the larger ones rubbed its body against Alara's leg in a gesture of trust. Another nudged a restrained raider, signaling that it was done for. The humans exchanged astonished looks. It was clear the Velari were capable of understanding and forming alliances, but only with those who showed courage, empathy, and protection. Alara realized that their species' strength was not just physical, it was moral. They responded to bravery and sacrifice, recognizing those who defended the innocent. And in that moment, she understood why the Cub had cried, "Mark them all." It was not a threat. It was a call to justice. The Velari could identify those who posed a danger, and they could act against them. Guided by courage and empathy rather than cruelty, night fell over the icy plains. The humans set up a temporary camp near a cluster of ice caves. Alara's shoulder throbbed, but she barely noticed. She was too focused on understanding the Cub and its people. Round the fire, her team discussed the events of the day. "This changes everything," Kara said quietly. "We can't just observe them anymore. They're intelligent, strategic, and they trust us now." Alara nodded. "Yes, but we must be careful. The raiders we fought today are just a small group. There are more out there, and they will come back. If they find us or the Velari, the consequences could be catastrophic." The Cub chirped again and crawled onto her lap. It looked up at her with wide, intelligent eyes, and for the first time, Alara felt a deep sense of hope. They were not alone in this frozen wilderness. With the Cub and its people, they had allies. Allies who could teach humans new ways to fight, survive, and protect the innocent. As she looked out over the icy landscape, Alara realized that the true battle had only just begun. The Velari had awakened not just as creatures of instinct, but as allies capable of incredible strategy. And the Cub, the small, brave Cub, had been the spark. Its cry, "Mark them all," would guide them in the days to come, a rallying cry for justice, courage, and cooperation. Alara's mind drifted to the future. They would need to train together, learn each other's strengths, and prepare for the next attack. But she also knew that humanity had a gift the Velari could not replicate: morality, ingenuity, and the ability to inspire. If they combine these strengths, no enemy could stand against them. Finally, exhaustion took its toll. Alara leaned back against a snow-covered rock, the cub curled on her chest. Round the fire, her team began to rest, trusting the Velari to watch over them. The night was quiet, but not empty. The Velari adults moved through the shadows. Protective and vigilant, Alara closed her eyes and let herself rest. Her mind still alert, filled with thoughts of strategy, survival, and the strange bond forming between humans and the Velari. She had faced death today, yet here she was, alive. And through courage and empathy, she had sparked something extraordinary, a bond that could change the course of their fight. Against the aliens forever, tomorrow, the hunt would continue. The raiders would not rest, and neither could they. But Alara knew one thing for certain, with the cub leading its people, and humans guiding their courage and strategy, they were no longer just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with, and together, they would ensure that no innocent would ever be harmed without consequence. The wind blew softly across the icy plains, carrying the faint echo of a cry that would become legend. Mark them all. The frozen plains of Arendar 7 glowed pale under the rising sun, but the calm was only temporary. Commander Alara Miles stood at the edge of the temporary human camp, her shoulders still aching from the previous day's battle. Beside her, the small Velari cub chirped softly, scanning the horizon. Its bright eyes were filled with determination, and every now and then, it let out its familiar rallying cry, "Mark them all." Alara glanced at her team. Lieutenant Karavos checked her weapons. Sergeant Tomasri reinforced the temporary barriers around the camp, and Dr. Lena Patel tended to minor injuries. Everyone was tense. The alien raiders were still out there, and they would regroup. They'll be back. Alara said quietly, "We need a plan. This time, we can't just defend. We need to strike before they find us again." Kara nodded. "But we can't do it alone. The Velari, they're stronger than we thought, but their instincts need guidance. And that cub," she paused, smiling faintly, "it's incredible. It's leading them like a general." Alara gave the cub a gentle pat. "Yes, and together, we can do this." Humans and Velari, working as one, the humans began to move out carefully, following the cub as it led the Velari into the icy valleys. Its small size belied its courage. Every time it squeaked, "Mark them all." The Velari adults reacted instantly, moving in precise formations, anticipating the human strategy and the raiders' weaknesses. By midday, they had tracked the raiders to a narrow canyon. The aliens had set up makeshift defenses, expecting a simple human attack. They did not know the humans were now joined by a strategic Velari force, nor did they understand the bond formed through courage and empathy. Alara motioned for the team to spread out. "Remember," she whispered, "this isn't just about fighting. We have to protect the cub and the Velari. They're the key." The cub climbed to the highest ridge, its small body tense and alert. Its eyes scanned the enemy camp, and then it let out a loud, commanding cry, "Mark them all." Immediately, the Velari adults moved in perfect synchrony. One leaped onto a frozen ledge, striking a raider who tried to flee. Another swept down from a cliff, knocking weapons from the hands of two others. The humans followed, their blasters targeting enemies distracted by the Velari's attacks. Alara moved quickly, using the cub's guidance to position her team. "Focus on their leaders," she shouted. "The rest will fall apart once we take them out." The raiders panicked. They had fought humans before, but never against a team that seemed connected to an alien species in perfect harmony. They could not predict where the Velari would strike next, nor could they anticipate the humans' coordinated counterattack. Every step they took was met with resistance, every move anticipated. The cub chirped again, and this time it seemed almost like a command, "Mark them all." Its voice carried across the canyon, and the Velari leapt with precision, hitting the enemy's weak points. Alara watched in awe. The combination of human intelligence and Velari instinct was unstoppable. One raider, realizing the situation was collapsing, attempted to retreat into a side canyon. Alara signaled Tomas to block the exit. The Velari intercepted the raider mid-step. knocking it off balance and restraining it without serious injury. Alara nodded approvingly. Good. No unnecessary harm. We're fighting for justice, not revenge. As the battle continued, Alara noticed a pattern. The Velari were not just reacting, they were learning. Every time the humans used strategy, the Velari adjusted. Every time the raiders tried to fight back, the Velari anticipated their moves. The cub led them like a true commander, its cries guiding their decisions. By late afternoon, the canyon was littered with restrained raiders, all too confused to understand what had happened. The humans and Velari stood victorious. The cub ran up to Alara, chirping softly as if reporting the outcome. She smiled through her exhaustion. You did it, she whispered. We did it together. The Velari adults moved closer, circling the humans protectively. They seemed to recognize that Alara and her team were more than allies, they were leaders, who had earned the Velari's respect through courage and empathy. Kara approached, still catching her breath. Commander, that cub, it's incredible. It's not just leading them, it's inspiring them. It's teaching them how to fight with purpose. Alara nodded slowly. Yes, and that's the key. Humans aren't just strong because of weapons. We lead, we inspire, we protect. That's what makes us different. That's why the Velari responded to us. They saw our courage, our willingness to sacrifice, and they followed. Dr. Lena Patel examined the restrained raiders. We should interrogate them carefully, she said. We need information about why they attacked, who sent them, and if there are more. The Velari might be able to help us track them. Alara agreed. We'll do it, but carefully. We fight for justice, not cruelty. Let's remember that. She looked at the cub again. It squeaked softly, as if acknowledging her words. As the humans and Velari prepared to move on, Alara reflected on the day's events. This was more than a battle. It was a lesson in coordination, courage, and empathy. The humans' tactical knowledge had merged with the Velari's instinct and intelligence. Together, they had become an unstoppable force. Night fell again over Arendar 7, but this time it felt different. The humans and Velari camped together, a small fire glowing against the ice. The cub curled up beside Alara, its warmth a small comfort in the freezing night. The Velari adult stood watch, protective and alert. Alara felt a sense of pride she had never experienced before. Humanity had faced impossible odds and prevailed, not just through strength, but through morality and courage. The Velari had recognized these qualities, and in return, they had formed a bond that would change the future. She closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of the battles to come. The raiders would not stop. Their allies would return, stronger and more determined. But now, the humans were no longer alone. They had friends, allies, and teachers in the Velari. And with the cub leading its people, they had a guide who could inspire even the fiercest warriors to fight with purpose. In the quiet of the night, Alara made a vow. She would protect this cub, the Velari, and her team. She would continue to fight, not just for survival, but for the ideals that had won their victory today: courage, empathy, and the protection of the innocent. The Velari cub chirped once more, and Alara smiled. Its voice carried across the icy plains, a reminder that leadership was not about strength alone, it was about inspiring others to rise to their greatest potential. Tomorrow, the hunt would continue. The raiders were not finished, and the humans could not rest. But Alara knew one thing for certain. They had the power to fight back, to protect the Velari, and to show that humanity's strength lay in courage, morality, and the ability to inspire even alien species. The wind whispered through the icy cliffs, carrying the faint echo of the cub's cry that had become their rallying call. Mark them all. And for the first time, Alara felt confident that they would succeed, not because they were stronger, but because they were humans, capable of inspiring greatness in themselves and others. The icy winds of Arendar 7 whispered across the frozen plains, as Commander Alara Miles carefully examined the area around the temporary camp. The battle with the raiders had left its marks: broken ice, scorch marks from energy weapons, and a few scattered human and Velari footprints. But the team had survived, and for the first time, a sense of cautious hope filled the air. Alara crouched beside the Velari cub, her hands brushing its soft fur. The cub chirped, bright-eyed, and let out its now familiar rallying cry, "Mark them all." Alara's heart quickened. The words still carried power, even after days of hearing them. But today, she realized that they meant more than just tactical direction. They were a call to justice and awareness. Somehow, this small creature could perceive threats and opportunities humans could not, guiding both its kind and theirs towards strategic decisions. The team gathered around the campfire. Lieutenant Karavos was examining the restrained alien raiders, while Dr. Lena Patel tended to the Velari adults, ensuring they were not harmed. Sergeant Tomasri scanned the surrounding ice cliffs with his binoculars, wary of any new threats. Alara's thoughts were elsewhere. She had watched the Velari in action countless times since the cub's appearance, and she was beginning to understand their nature. The adults were not simply following instinct, they were intelligent, learning, and adaptive. But they were also morally guided by the cub. Whatever courage and empathy the humans had shown, the Velari had mirrored it. The cub chirped again, almost impatiently. It ran to the edge of a small ridge, its bright eyes scanning the horizon. Then, it let out a clear, commanding cry, "Mark them all." This time, the humans noticed something remarkable. The Velari adults did not just attack blindly, they moved in patterns, marking the positions of enemies, predicting their movements, and coordinating with human tactics. The cub's cries were not just orders, they were signals of perception, strategy, and judgment. Alara stood and spoke softly to her team. "We've underestimated them. The Velari can do more than fight, they can analyze, adapt, and anticipate. That cub is leading them, but it's more than a leader. It's a guide." Kara frowned. "A guide, you mean? Like a strategist?" "Yes," Alara replied. "And it's learning from us, too. Every time we make a decision, it adapts. Every time we show courage or mercy, it recognizes it. We're not just allies, we're teachers and examples." The realization was profound. Humans had survived countless battles in the galaxy, but now they were seeing a species elevate itself by example. The Velari's intelligence, guided by morality and courage, was something entirely new. Alara turned her attention to the restrained raiders. Their leaders had been captured in the canyon, but their forces remained scattered. She needed information who had sent them, and if there were more waiting to attack. But she also needed to respect the Velari's role. The cub chirped, seemingly aware of her intentions, and let out a soft call. The Velari adults moved closer to the restrained aliens, circling them. It was clear they were not attacking, but observing and marking threats. The cub's guidance was subtle but unmistakable. Alara knelt beside the cub, her voice gentle. "What are you seeing, little one? What do you know that we cannot?" The cub chirped softly, tilting its head. Then, as if answering, it ran to the nearest Velari adult and tapped it with its paw. The adult crouched and pointed its claws toward a distant ridge. Alara's eyes widened. There, partially hidden by ice, were signs of more raiders. "They're planning another attack," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "And if we move now, we can intercept them before they reach the Velari nest." Kara shook her head in disbelief. "It's like the cub can see the battlefield in ways we cannot." "It's incredible." Alara nodded. "It is, and we have to trust it, not just as an ally, but as a guide." She turned to her team. "Prepare your weapons. Move carefully, and follow the cub's lead." The team moved silently, following the cub as it led the Velari into the icy valleys once more. The air was tense, every step filled with the anticipation of another battle. But this time, the humans were not simply fighting, they were learning, observing, and coordinating with a species that was rapidly becoming a partner in strategy and judgment. As they approached the hidden ridge, the cub stopped suddenly and let out its piercing cry, "Mark them all." The Velari responded instantly, moving into positions that blocked the raiders' escape routes. Alara signaled her team to advance, and together they moved like a single, coordinated force. The battle began, but it was different from the previous encounters. The humans did not rely solely on firepower, and the Velari did not attack blindly. Every movement was guided, every strike calculated, every decision informed by observation and empathy. The raiders, confused and overwhelmed, could not anticipate this level of coordination. Alara fought with precision, watching the cub lead the Velari as if conducting an orchestra. One raider attempted to flee, but a Velari adult leapt from a cliff and blocked its path. Another tried to hide behind ice formations, only to be marked and surrounded by the combined force. Every cry of "mark them all" directed a new wave of action, focusing the Velari's instinct and human strategy on key targets. By the end of the engagement, the raiders were either captured or forced to retreat. The humans and Velari stood victorious, but Alara knew this was only a temporary victory. The larger threat still loomed. Their enemies would regroup, and the war for the survival of the Velari and humans was far from over. As the adrenaline faded, Alara knelt beside the cub. "You've changed everything," she whispered. "Not just the battle, but how we see each other and ourselves," the cub chirped softly, nuzzling her hand. Its intelligence, bravery, and guidance had already saved lives and reshaped the humans' understanding of strategy. And alliance, Alara's mind raced with possibilities. If the Velari could perceive threats, guide allies, and make calculated decisions, what else could they teach humanity? And more importantly, what could humanity teach them? Courage, morality, and empathy were traits no species could mimic naturally. They had to be modeled, demonstrated, and respected. Kara approached quietly. "Commander, it's more than strategy," she said. "They're learning from us how to fight, yes, but also how to act with purpose and mercy. That cub, it's showing them a way to combine instinct with intelligence and ethics. It's remarkable." Alara smiled faintly, tired but resolute. "Exactly. And that's what humans bring to the galaxy. Strength isn't just in weapons or numbers, it's in morality, empathy, and the courage to act. That's why they follow us and why the cub trusts us. Together, we can teach each other and face challenges no one species could handle alone." Night fell over the icy valleys. The humans set up camp once more, with the Velari close by. The cub curled up near Alara, its soft chirps filling the quiet night. The adults kept watch, their protective instincts heightened but guided by the cub's leadership. Alara leaned back against a snow-covered rock, exhaustion weighing on her, but her mind alive with possibilities. She had witnessed something extraordinary, a species that could think, adapt, and act with purpose, yet also recognized courage and morality in others. Humanity had inspired them, and in return, they offered guidance, insight, and strategic brilliance. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The raiders would not rest, and the humans and Velari would need to anticipate and act together. But Alara felt a sense of confidence she had never felt before. They were not alone. They had allies, teachers, and partners. And at the center of it all was the small, brave cub whose cry had become a symbol of unity. Courage and justice marked them all. The winds of Arendar 7 blew gently through the icy plains, carrying with them the promise of a new alliance and the revelation that human courage and empathy could inspire greatness in others, even across species. Alara closed her eyes, letting herself rest for the first time in days. Her mind focused on strategy, survival, and the lessons she had learned. The Velari had awakened not just as warriors, but as partners capable of remarkable insight. And with the cub leading them, humans had found not only allies, but friends who would stand beside them in the battles yet to come. The sun rose pale over Arendar 7, casting long shadows across the frozen plains. Commander Alara Miles stood at the edge of the icy cliffs, her breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. The Velari cub ran circles around her feet, chirping softly, then climbed onto a nearby rock and let out its familiar call. Mark them all. Alara's heart swelled with pride. The cub had grown in confidence and intelligence over the past days, guiding the Velari and humans with unerring precision. Today would be the final test. The remaining raiders had regrouped at a hidden base in the northern canyon, and Alara knew they would strike back with greater numbers. The survival of the Velari and the humans depended on their ability to work together as one. "Everyone ready?" Alara asked, her voice steady. Kara tightened her gloves. "Ready." Tomas checked the weapons one last time. "All set." Dr. Lena Patel nodded. "We're ready." The cub chirped again, hopping forward as if signaling them to follow. The Velari adults moved in formation behind it. Alara smiled faintly. Then let's end this. The humans and Velari approached the canyon carefully. The icy terrain made movement slow, but the Cubs' guidance kept them on the safest paths. As they neared the raiders' base, signs of recent activity became clear: footprints, broken ice, and faint energy traces. The raiders had been expecting them, but they could not anticipate the combination of human tactics and Velari instinct. Alara gestured to her team. Positions. Remember, focus on the leaders first. We break their organization, and the rest will fall. The cub chirped again. Mark them all. Its voice echoed across the canyon, and the Velari leapt into action. The battle began with sudden intensity. The raiders fired energy blasts, but the humans and Velari were prepared. The Velari adults moved swiftly, blocking attacks and herding raiders into positions where humans could engage safely. Every time the cub cried, it was as if the battlefield itself obeyed its command. The adults responded immediately, showing precision and coordination that humans had never seen in any species before. Alara moved with skill, using her blaster to neutralize threats while keeping an eye on the cub. Focus on the leaders, she shouted. That's where their power lies. The raiders attempted to regroup, but the Velari's coordination was flawless. They moved as one, predicting the enemy's actions and cutting off escape routes. Humans and Velari alike were able to strike with efficiency, minimizing unnecessary harm while neutralizing the threat. One raider tried to flee up a narrow cliff path. A Velari adult leapt after it, blocking its way. Another raider attempted to hide behind ice formations, only to be marked and intercepted by the humans. Every move was guided by the cub's cries and the lessons it had learned from observing human tactics. Alara saw the raiders' morale collapse. They had never encountered an enemy that combined moral courage, strategy, and instinct in such perfect harmony. Their retreat became disorganized, leaving leaders vulnerable to capture. Finally, Alara and her team reached the central platform of the raiders' base. The leaders were cornered, trapped between humans and Velari. The cub chirped once more. Mark them all. This time, the command felt like a declaration of victory. The Velari surrounded the leaders without harming them, while the humans approached cautiously, ensuring that every raider understood that justice, not revenge, was the goal. Alara stepped forward, her voice firm. You will leave this planet and never return. Any further attacks will be met with force. The Velari are under our protection, and humanity will not allow harm to come to the innocent. The raiders, defeated and wary, had no choice but to comply. They retreated, leaving the humans and Velari in control. Silence fell over the canyon, broken only by the soft wind and the chirps of the cub. Alara exhaled deeply, her body aching but her spirit soaring. She knelt beside the cub. You've done it. You've led your people and ours to victory. The cub nuzzled her hand, its bright eyes shining. Around them, the Velari adults moved closer, protective and alert, yet calm in the knowledge that their home and their young were safe. Kara approached, smiling despite her exhaustion. Commander, I've never seen anything like it. The way the humans and Velari worked together. It was perfect coordination. And that cub, it's a true leader. Alara nodded. Yes, but it's more than that. Today we proved something important, not just that we can survive, but that human courage, empathy, and moral strength can inspire greatness in others. The Velari followed us because we protected the innocent, and we showed them that bravery and wisdom can coexist. That's what makes humans special. Tomas grinned. And we've gained friends who will fight with us, side by side. Dr. Patel added softly, friends, teachers, allies. It's a bond that could change the future for both species. Alara looked across the frozen plains. The victory was hard-won, but it was complete. The Velari cub chirped again, standing on a rock with its small chest puffed out. It had guided its people to safety, inspired human courage, and shown that even the smallest creature could make a difference in the grandest of battles. This is just the beginning, Alara said quietly. The galaxy is full of challenges, but if humans and Velari can stand together, nothing can stop us. The team returned to the Velari nest, where the adults and cubs gathered. The humans were accepted fully now, no longer outsiders but allies. The cub ran among its people, its chirps echoing across the icy plains, a symbol of leadership, courage, and the bond between species. Alara watched, her heart filled with pride. Humanity had not only survived, they had inspired greatness. They had shown that courage, empathy, and strategic thinking could elevate even the fiercest and most instinctive species. As night fell over Arendar 7, the humans and Velari settled together. The fire glowed softly, reflecting in the ice, and the cub curled up near Alara's feet. The adults kept watch, their protective instincts guided by the cub, while the humans rested. Knowing they had earned the Velari's trust and respect, Alara reflected on the journey. She had faced danger, pain, and uncertainty, yet her willingness to protect the innocent at all costs had inspired an entire species. The cub's cry, "Mark them all," had become a symbol not of violence, but of courage, justice, and moral strength. Tomorrow, they would begin the work of rebuilding, of strengthening their alliance, and preparing for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. But tonight, there was peace. The humans had proven their worth, not through domination or fear, but through sacrifice, empathy, and leadership. Alara looked down at the cub and whispered, "Thank you. We couldn't have done this without you." The cub chirped softly in response, nuzzling her hand. And for a moment, everything was calm. The winds of Arendar 7 blew gently across the frozen plains, carrying the sound of a cry that would echo for generations. Mark them all. A reminder that courage, empathy, and moral strength could change the course of battles, inspire entire species, and ensure that the innocent were always protected. Commander Alara Miles closed her eyes, exhausted but content. Humanity had triumphed not just in survival, but in heart, courage, and the ability to inspire greatness in others. And with allies like the Velari, guided by their brave cub, the future was bright. For the first time in days, she felt true hope. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but humanity had shown its greatest strength, the power to lead, protect, and inspire, no matter the odds. And somewhere, in the icy silence of Arendar 7, the small cub's cry echoed once more, "Mark them all." A call to justice, courage, and unity, one that would never be forgotten.